Alright, welcome to the last video of the Lord of the Change model. This time we will finally paint the base. For the base there have been like two main different color sets in my mind that I could have gone with, and I actually went for a third. So I was thinking of like a jade marble green, but that might have been too distracting for the model. And I was thinking of also a white marble. Could have been really nice in contrast with like the very colorful model that is yet quite dark. But I went for like a natural stone base. I think in the end I might have liked to see it also with the white marble base. I think that could have been cool. But yeah, hope you enjoy seeing the progress after you've seen how to build the base last time. Okay, have fun! Alright, so you can see I've primed the base first black and then white, more here from the top to get like a nice little highlight line here to one side. And yeah, you can really see the benefits of the black and white foundation. For the base we will work with quite a large brush because it's also quite a large base. So here I'm having a flathead brush size 10, and I'm just also rearranged the palette for the base, so we will go for like a light stone base, light beige marble kind of stone. So here on the palette we have plenty of the Rucksack 10 from P3, some Model Color Black, some Ami Painter Strong Tone, and some of the Schmincke White. So we'll start with the beige, mixed from the P3 Rucksack 10 Black. Okay, more of the Rucksack 10. Okay, a bit more water to thin it down. Consistency wise, this is like between a light layer and a heavy glaze, so you can see it's actually quite translucent. And yeah, we will just take our flathead brush and put some of that here on the surface. Okay, we'll start up here. A bit water in the brush because it seemed to be like a little too thick actually. And that's quite good consistency wise, because I can still see the black and white shining through, and for the base that is like a very good starting consistency. Also try to get the same color here into the recesses. Also actually here under the column and for the column itself. For a base of that size, you can clearly also use an airbrush to get like the base tones in there. I just like the good old brush challenge because, like, in the end, I'm not a very talented airbrusher, and I think it's always good if you can't really see the tool you've been using or the technique. So in the end, you should just enjoy the model and not think about techniques. So yeah, I think that's why I prefer also keeping, like, if the figure is brushwork, to keep everything in just brushwork. Okay, so I will just continue like that, and we'll be back with the dried base color. Alright, so here we are with the dried base color, and you can see in some parts, like here, I don't know if the cam captures it, but you can see like you have a little bit of like it looks like a light dust in the recess. Sometimes that happens if you water down the paints too much. For a base like that, it's not actually the worst effect. It looks actually quite nice. You can also use that to create kind of like a dusty rust effect. But here we will use later on some darker washes, so that shouldn't be a problem. Now in the beginning we will use a little bit of dry brushing. Woo! Ben Comet's dry brushing video, but dry brushing is actually a very good technique. It's one of the first techniques that a lot of people learn, and here for a large base like that, it gives us like a good starting definition to work on with like manual highlights. So I'm mixing like a light highlight tone here from some of the base tone with plenty of white, and I'm just wiping off the extra amount of paint here on the brush. I really want the brush to be clean and almost free of paint. So if you wipe it off here, this is still a lot too much. So maybe the brush was also a little bit wet from before. So I'm just so let's try that now. And it's important to just keep one direction from which you brush, because that is also giving you a highlight from one side. If you just go all over the place, it doesn't look all that good. So more. And you see, if you do it carefully, you can get like quite a nice highlight, and also like, especially for something like stone texture or dry sand, there's actually no other, or there could be other ways to highlight them, but this here is definitely just the most comfortable one. So we'll do that step to all the base in a second, but I will just put on some brighter highlights using almost pure white, just here along the edges and carefully go here to the middle, and you can see the effect is actually really nice. We will do the same here to the column. First here in this direction, and then in the other direction as well. So yeah, I will not. I don't want to bore you with like the dry brushing process, but I will just continue like that, and we'll be back for the next step. Okay, so this is how the dry brush base looks, and yeah, we're now switching to a smaller brush to do a little bit more delicate fine lining work. But you can see the dry brushing already gives us a nice indication of light and texture. So I want those to be like I don't know, I said like a little bit like marble tiles. So I'm just mixing a light beige from our base tone and the white. Okay, that should be good. We are using like a medium layer consistency. Okay, so we're first painting veins on the stone. I'm just trying to do like very fine curvy lines with the brush. And also a bit brighter. And we're just doing like a few of those to get like a nice marble-esque look here. And we don't want to go crazy, first of all because it's a very large space and we don't want to do that for days. But also because it's also, if we do it like super bright or like with a lot of contrast, it would distract quite heavily from the figure. So we just want a subtle effect. Okay, so I will continue like that on the other tiles, and we'll be back to unify the highlights and adjust the contrast a little bit. Okay, so here we are with the marble veins in place. I'm now using a size 2 brush, and I'm just putting some water here on this part of the tile, and also just up here. These are spots that I want to remain brighter, and we'll now do a feathering here on these large areas, and I want to get like a little bit darker here, so I'm placing some of the Army Painter Strong Tone up here, and then just with plenty of water I'm just pulling it over the surface. Okay, so you can really see how it nicely gathers here in the back, and we have quite a soft transition to the front. here, because you have like an interesting height difference in the tiles, I will also introduce some strong tone here. And pull that out with the water that I've applied before. Also here in these deeper crevices and in the areas where we have more of the sand. Okay, so I will apply that to like the rest of the recesses, and we'll be back with for the next layer of the strong tone. This time more, or the next time more globally, to get like an overall transition of light, a little bit like a spotlight under our giant magic turkey. Okay. Alright, so this is how the base looks now with the strong tone. Dried, you can see I've continued here also with like a bit more controlled strong tone and also some manual highlights here to make the contrast pop. So just looking at that here, it looks a little bit darker than I wanted it to be actually in the end. And so instead of using now another layer of strong tone to the sides, we'll just highlight that bit here a bit more around the circle where the figure will be standing. So you can see the palette got a little messy, but we're just working with different beige tones at the moment, and we're working with quite a heavy glaze, and we're just having that in front of the brush and some water in the back of the brush, and we're trying to get like that here glazed in. We have to be careful that it doesn't pool. And just a bit brighter. Because we're just doing that with a very light glaze, we can still see also the fine marble lines that we have underneath. So you can see this tile is already quite a bit brighter, and I will continue like that. And yeah, we'll be back once that is done. Quite a simple step, but it makes a huge difference. Alright, so you can see I've continued with the highlight glazes, and I've also placed like the manual highlights here on these tiles. So yeah, we will just do that now here in the middle tile. I'm just using my Winsor Newton size 1 and some pure titanium white, and we will use that just here along the edge and just carefully dab along the side where it would receive some highlight. Here we are quite in the center of our highlights, so also the highlights can be pure white. To the side of the base I'm just using an off-white mixed from the base tone and some white.
And it works quite well together with the highlights that we have from the dry brushing. So with just a few dots we can make it look a lot more painted. Yeah, I think now it looks really quite a bit more sparkly. Okay, so I've also added in the back of the palette, I've added 2 inks. One here, up here, is the Inktense Chestnut from Scale, and here it's the Inktense Violet, also from Scale colors. And we will just use that, place it here, and just clean the brush and feather it out just a bit. Want to add like stronger saturated shadows here on these, or a bit like a little bit of dirt or grime, just a tiny color variation. I think that will boost the contrast quite a bit. Also here on that sand bit. Okay, and also a bit of the purple, and we'll place that just in here. Clean the brush and feather it out a bit. Not too much, because we don't want it to appear too purple in the first glance. So here where we come into the light, I'm just adding a bit of the chestnut color. And now with just the clean brush, getting it out. And you see it's almost black, so we might add a little bit of green, like a mossy tone in the end. But yeah, for now I will just continue with those 2 colors and maximize the contrast also here in the a little bit in the shadow areas, to also have like these purplish tones that we have on the figure, but not really too prominent. We want to keep that grayish overall look. Alright, so you can see we have like the I've added some of the purple and some of the Inktense Chestnut also to the sides of the base, and now the like the spotlight is also clear visible, and the color variation is already actually quite nice. So yeah, what we'll do now is we will take care of these flames here, because they're like a nice little spot of color, and I think that will also add a lot to the base. You can see on the palette I've added some light turquoise from Model Color and some Scrappy Green from the Game Color range. And yeah, we will just start with a little bit of the light turquoise. Just have to find a free spot on the palette. Light turquoise and some water to get quite a thin glaze. So like a medium glaze. Okay, so we'll use the glaze of the light turquoise here around our flames. This time, just because it's from the accessibility here, we will just start with a light glaze of the blue, actually already getting a nice little OSL here before we actually paint the flames. So here I'm just glazing a bit of the light turquoise, then pulling it towards the area where it's close to the flame. Okay, and we will also do the same here. And we'll also do the same here towards the flames on the floor. It's interesting because already that little glaze here with the blue is already starting to influence the atmosphere. So I will just continue like that here around the flames, and we'll be back to increase the lights on the flames and paint the flames itself. Okay, so I've glazed the blue also here on the other side, and yeah, now we can continue with the actual color on the flames. And we will start with a mixture of the light turquoise and some of the scurvy green. We're using the color quite thick, so like a heavy base layer, so it really covers quite well. So now just a little bit of that paint, we can take that and put this here into the cracks as well, because we want them to be glowing and be more intense as well. Okay, and now with the same color in the back of the brush and some white on the tip, you can do a loader brush just directly in here. And that gives us really like a very sharp contrast. Also here on the top. Just dabbing a little around here as well. Okay, and we're also mixing like a light mixed tone, a light highlight tone here for the highlights here in the back. Okay, so actually quite simple, and the effect is really nice. I will just continue like that on the other flames, and we'll be back to do like a touch-up of the OSL. Okay, so this is how it looks now, and I think it already looks pretty cool from the reflectiveness, but as I said, we still want to push the OSL effect a bit stronger. So I'm taking the brush size 1, Winsor & Newton Series 7, and I'm just mixing like a very light blue, using the light turquoise and some of the Schmincke white. Okay, so the consistency of the paint is quite thick, so you can see it covers quite well. But we now want to do like controlled lines of highlight. Here, for example, along the edge. Okay, so just along the edges, a bit more towards the center of the flame. Also make sure you really have it from both sides. A little in here where the staff is touching the ground. Okay, I think the glowing effect is just about right, so let us zoom out and see how the base looks. Okay, so here we are with the base zoomed out, and yeah, I think it looks already really cool. I think in the next step I would actually put the figure in place and see if it needs some adjustment with the figure on top. Okay?
Hey guys, Now that everything is painted, let's have a look at the finished Lord of the Change model. I have to say, for myself, I'm very proud of the model. If I look at it, I really think like, man, what a cool figure. But also on the downside, it's one of the most time-consuming projects that I've painted so far. And I think if you compare it to other dioramas or pieces like the White Moon Den, for example, you can tell so much story with miniatures, and just taking something directly out of the box and painting it is actually not my cup of tea. But just to practice techniques, practice control of color, control of contrast on a model like that, the Lord of Change was really something fascinating for myself. So I hope you enjoyed the long progress and the insight of how I work on a model like that. Thank you so much for your support, and back to the desk again.